Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today's video is covering Orto Parisi's Stercus. From what I can understand, the name Stercus comes from the Latin word stercore, which means shit. So Orto Parisi is a brand that basically uses the natural body as its influence, so armpits, things below the nether region, everything you can think of is in Orto Parisi. So the imagery that they use to promote this one is a piece of wood with a dark hole in the centre. You can imagine what that's trying to represent, so not the most pleasant kind of branding. And also the juice colour of this, I'm not sure which side of the video I'll be putting the bottle, but you can see what the colour looks like. So unusual kind of idea for a brand. So getting into the scent itself, I'm going to respray it just to get an initial first impression again, just to make sure what I was thinking is correct. Okay. The first time I smelled it, the initial first fire thing in my brain was synthetic sandalwood. I'm not 100% sure, that's just the first immediate thing that struck me was, oh, I'm smelling some kind of synthetic sandalwood. But what I think the best way to describe it is you're going to get a mix of woods. There's a resinous kind of sweetness to it, although it's weirdly quite dry. It's a dry, woody masculine. I'm not really sure what it's trying to do. To me, it doesn't smell the most natural, not that that's a bad thing, but it smells more, to be honest, like a designer fragrance. It reminds me if maybe Gucci Guilty Absolutes had a baby with Gucci Oud Intense. If those two kind of had a little son, it would be something along the lines of this. And you get nuances of like something like tobacco, because there's like this slightly sweet, almost spiced tobacco nuance. So it could be tobacco the notes, or it could be some kind of synthetic oud that has tobacco like tones to it. But that's what it's going for. It's this dark, dry, kind of synthetic smelling woody thing. To be honest, this one I'm not digging. I don't like this one. So this one is quite expensive. It's about close to £140 for the 50ml bottle. It comes in only one size. I thought it was, to be honest, on the expensive side for what I'm smelling. To me, it's not giving me that kind of niche quality that I expect to smell in a niche perfume. In my opinion, this is designer level quality. So it doesn't feel like it's worth £140 to me, put it that way. I would say if you like this kind of genre of a dry, woody masculine, try Gucci Guilty Absolute, or try the Gucci Oud Intense for kind of the sweeter version. This is somewhere in between those two. It has the dry woodiness of Gucci Guilty Absolute, but it has a little bit of that kind of synthetic oud resinous vibe, the sweetness of Gucci Oud Intense. It's kind of in between those somehow. In terms of performance, on my skin it lasted between 6 to 7 hours and the projection was modest. So it performs okay. I'm just not impressed with the quality. It doesn't smell that great to me. Kind of what this reminds me of is when I was in Dubai, places like that, you have these kind of Arabic brands that come in like super shiny kind of gold bottles, elaborately adorned, and they're very heavily synthetic oud, very, you know, dry, woody, sweet, resinous synthetic ouds. And they're in these kind of Arabic bottles, and you find them all over Dubai and the Middle East. It kind of, and they're quite inexpensive a lot of the time, very cheaply put together, non-expensive fragrances. It reminds me of that. That's the best way I can describe it. I don't know how to do it in a nice way that's not knocking it, because it kind of is knocking it. But for me, I don't get the niche value. It's quite obviously a synthetic kind of oudy, woody thing that doesn't smell very complex to me. doesn't smell that interesting. It's not that enjoyable. For one, it doesn't smell of what the name is. It doesn't have any fecal, funky, dirty elements at all. If people are smelling that, it's purely placebo from the colour of the juice and the name. If you called this a different name and it had a different colour juice, no one would remotely say these kind of things about it. So for me, that's a placebo. It's a dry, woody, synthetic kind of resinous, slightly sweet tobacco-y oud that doesn't change. It's not hugely dimensional, and it just fades out and disappears into nothing. For me personally, this one is a pass. I wouldn't particularly recommend it. Like I say, I think it's overpriced. And the options I suggested are going to give you a similar kind of vibe in the same kind of ballpark for a lot less money. And to be honest, both of the fragrances I suggested are more interesting and arguably better than this one, in my opinion. You're getting more bang for your buck, and they're just generally more likable and interesting, in my opinion. This one's just a bit dull to me. It doesn't really interest me. Obviously, taste is hugely subjective, and you might very well love it. If you do, I'm sorry you had to listen to me say it's not that great. Don't take it personally, just an opinion. But in general, it's not one I would be willing to recommend to people. I think there's better out there for less money. There's also a general sense of synthetic kind of muskiness. I think there's probably things like Isoe Super and Hedione in here. It has that blanket cloud effect that I sense when I'm feeling Isoe Super, that kind of thing. There is an element of that in here for sure. His branding interests me because there's another one from the Nasomatto line called Blamage. When you translate Blamage, the meaning of it, it's kind of basically says an accident due to kind of poor judgment. And I think that's genuinely, you know, that fragrance isn't very good to me. It smells sharp, it's not nice smelling, it smells a bit of a mess. Not to kind of hate on it, but if you smell it, most people would probably agree, although there's going to be some that love it. But that's the way it comes across to me. But I think the name isn't a joke. I think it was genuinely a screw up. And instead of throwing it away, he just bottled it and sold it as a screw up and was just honest and called it Blamage. Because that's what it was. It was an accident through lack of care. In my opinion, that's total the truth. But I think possibly almost this name, calling this fragrance shit, could be him just being real and saying, hey, this one turned out a bit shit, but I'm going to sell it anyway and call it shit. It makes me wonder if there's some kind of amusing kind of thing in his head there that he finds that funny. Maybe as an artist, you know, weird, quirky, eccentric people, I think that might have something to do with it. I don't know. But if you were going to portray a dirty, animalic fragrance, you could do something way more impressive than this. It doesn't come across that way. So if you wanted really to call it shit, you could make it, you could put civet in there, you could pack it with a castoreum and just more intense. I don't know, it could just be better. It doesn't smell remotely as the name suggests. It's just a woody, musky, resinous, ever so slightly sweet smell. That's not at all unpleasant, it's just not that interesting. There you go. Hope you enjoyed the review. Sometimes I don't like doing these videos because I feel people want to hear about something exciting. I have to be real, and I've got a lot to review, and so I'm going to do these kind of videos now and again. I'll try and pick better ones that I actually like, you know, but I'm going to mix these in as well. Hope you enjoyed it anyway. Let me know your opinion, if you agree, if you disagree. Leave it in the comments, let everyone else know. And I'll see you again in the next video. Take care. Bye bye everyone.